Hello spooky fam, how are we doing? Okay, number one, new camera, how do we feel? I hope I'm in focus. If not, shit, I'm sorry. And number two is we're going to be watching 15 creepy humanoids caught on tape by the channel Chills. I say let's get straight into it. So if you're ready, I'm ready, let's go.
Chills. Number 15, Ningen. What you are witnessing is rare underwater footage of a ningen, a gigantic sea creature apparently first spotted by Pacific fishermen sometime in the 90s. The name literally means human, and that's because they tend to have a round head along with 4 limbs and a skinny torso. The creature is about the size of a submarine, but looks rubbery and boneless. It appears to be mostly carried by ocean currents and has a limited control over its directional course. Since ningen sightings are so new, not much is known about these creatures aside from it having a preference for Arctic waters and a nocturnal sleep schedule. There's rumors about various government officials suppressing information from the public, so there's no telling what new ningen footage will leak in upcoming years. It really makes you wonder what other humanoid monsters are possibly being hidden from the world's eye. Number 14, Don't Disturb the Humanoid. Two friends are creeping around a forest in Granada, Spain when they stumble upon something they were never meant to see. The humanoid is likely hunched over its prey as the two approach. They accidentally make a noise and the humanoid's keen ears detect them instantly. It looks up from his meal ready to attack. You can see that this creature is thin and bony. It looks skinny and sunken in, fast, with a high metabolism. Its reaction time seems way too quick for any ordinary person. Number 13, Desert Monster. Desert workers in Portugal were in for a giant surprise after a huge humanoid decided to wander around the remote job site. The workers were casually filming the desert landscape and having a private conversation when they noticed a hulking creature stomping its way across the prairie in the distance.
Nah, that's gotta be fake.
This towering humanoid looks 3 times the size of a regular person. The length of its forearms alone is probably the size of a grown man's leg, and despite being heavily hunched over, it looks to be well over 7 feet tall. It's almost as tall as the tree it disappears behind. The stunned Portuguese workers were filming for a bit, and when the creature doesn't re-emerge, they wisely choose not to pursue and the video ends. They definitely made the right decision by leaving it alone. One look at its massive arms and long legs and you'd have no doubt that this monster could have easily defended itself against them. Number 12, Humanoids in China. Otherwise known as the Hybrid Man, this intimidating giant grew up in a rural peasant village not too long ago. Though skeptics believe that this man simply suffered from a genetic disease, all we have to rely on for sure is the legend of his birth as told by his mother. Here's what she says happened to her. One day a huge and savage humanoid snatched her from her village and took her to his lair against her will. The wild man spoke no language and appeared to have no part in civilization. Instead choosing to live deep in the wild on its own, he forced himself on her many times for days on end, and soon she became pregnant with his son. She eventually escaped back to her village and 9 months later gave birth.
So the story goes that the boy's mother had claimed she was kidnapped by a Yiren, which is a Chinese version of Bigfoot.
Her giant humanoid offspring never seemed to adjust well in human society. Our complex social mannerisms were too foreign for him to grasp. He could likewise not speak any Chinese, but he did grow to understand a few basic commands. Other than a few instances of brief interactions with people, his gestures were purely animalistic in nature. He ate like a wild animal and squatted on his haunches instead of sitting like a man. He died at the age of 33 and was quickly forgotten by the community. The footage was discovered much later, and the Hybrid Man's story soon grew into the internet legend that we know it as today. When researchers went to the village to learn more, however, there was little information to be found. Though theories abound, his true origin remains a mystery to this day. Number 11, the Blue Visitor. Anthony Choi is a UFO investigator who has been looking for UFO activity in Peru for the last 25 years. For decades, it had seemed like the aliens were always one step ahead of him, but one summer night, while hunting for humanoids near a gas station in Pachacamac, Peru, Anthony finally captured one of them on his cell phone.
Grábalo, sí, está caminando, grábalo.
A la mierda, está de espinita, es algo.
The blue being vaguely has a human outline. Look closely and you can make out its arms and legs as it glides across the
It's like a
street.
little
It looks like it
gliding
is made out of
octopus.
pure energy. Whatever the technology is, it comes with one special life-saving trick: teleportation. The humanoid stops in the road just as a freight truck comes barreling its way at about 70 miles per hour. It looks like the strange blue visitor is about to get flattened, but then it suddenly disappears and materializes behind the vehicle like magic. It keeps crossing the street while Anthony watches with his crew in disbelief.
Cálmate.
Me paralizó ahí.
Sí. Es una persona,
Una persona es un globo.
Carajo,
No,
es
estaba
una
caminando.
persona, está caminando. El globo estaba caminando.
Estaba caminando, esa verdad.
The fact that it stops in the middle of a busy road suggests that this thing is not familiar with our highway traffic rules. Even though it is probably not from this earth, it appears to be well experienced and capable of adapting to new dangers. It continues to cross 3 more lanes and teleports straight through another truck with ease. Anthony and his team of investigators say that the creature was about 3 feet tall with red eyes and a head that was shaped like a pumpkin. As the video shows, they were too overjoyed at the thought of discovering extraterrestrial life to be afraid. It is a video that Anthony will not fear, but instead cherish forever. Number 10. Unknown Humanoid. YouTuber Don John Averon claims to have captured an unknown humanoid on tape while deep in the woods in 2016. But without more information or evidence, little can be verified in regards to this video's authenticity. But if it's real, then this chilling footage shows Dawn silently creeping up on an ape-like creature that has tiny legs and a hunched over upper body. The humanoid does not seem to notice him as it casually swings its massive arms while walking. It moves like a human, but apparently has giant sloth-like arms with no fingers.
Yeah,
It retreats
that kind
deeper
of
into the
looks like-
forest and Dawn doesn't follow. Number 9. Ghouls and Aliens. This cemetery footage was taken over 10 years ago, and the owner was looking over it at random when he noticed a humanoid object in the background for the first time. As the camera pans over the tombstone, you can see something rushing out from the background.
Where?
As soon as the cameraman noticed this, he enhances the footage and slows it down to make sure his eyes weren't deceiving him. To his amazement, the adjustment only made things even more clear. This is what he
Bro.
saw. This strange sighting has since caused a huge debate online as to whether or not this humanoid was a gray alien or a ghoul. Many people point out that aliens aren't really seen in the cemetery, but ghouls on the other hand. Who knows what other kinds of humanoids have been accidentally caught on tape, waiting to be discovered. Number 8. The Thing. This footage comes from Vietnam, where all sorts of strange creatures are rumored to still roam free through the wild and unconquered forests. This stuffed humanoid in particular has been deceased for quite some time, possibly for decades, and now looks discolored and slowly falling apart. It appears to be half man, half snake. Long blonde hair grows from its human-like head, which is furry all over yet also covered in straw blonde facial hair. 2 rodent-like arms stick out from its fur-covered upper body. Its face looks like a cross between a man and an ape. The nose looks like it belongs to a primate,
Looks like a
but
rat.
the gray lifeless eyes and smirking mouth look like they could belong to a person. Its scaly lower half looks exactly like a snake's. Watching this thing in action must have been a terrible and shocking sight. How such a
ways.
creature could come to be is unexplainable,
I've
yet
never
here it
seen
is.
this
Perhaps there are
before.
even more of them out in the wild. Number 7. The Goblin. Humanoids apparently come in all different sizes. The one in this video is mistakenly labeled as a
inclusive.
goblin, though it looks completely human except for its height.
What?
The supposed goblin in this video is shorter than 1 brick tall. It peeks around from behind a wall and quickly disappears once it sees the camera. The camera follows it to the other side of the wall and finds a tiny hole that the humanoid must have escaped into. If it wasn't for the video, this supposed goblin would not have left a trace behind. Number 6. Humanoid Bugs. This video could very well be proof that the humanoid kingdom extends into the insect world. At first glance, this video appears to be a firefly or some similar sort of bug, but when slowed down frame by frame, you can clearly see that this is not a bug at all, but rather appears to be a tiny winged humanoid. The video shows an insect-like humanoid with clearly discernible arms and legs. Unlike most bugs, this humanoid only has 4 limbs, and the arms appear to be twice as short as the
What the
legs,
fuck?
much like a person. There's simply no insect on Earth like it. It's just too bad the lighting conditions don't provide more detail, because it would have been interesting to see more of its face and overall color patterns. Exactly where this video was shot is not known.
You can see its arms and legs, like it's so lanky. It's like Slender Man.
Number 5, the sewer monster. This amateur footage was shot somewhere in an underground sewage system. The cameraman is presumably a maintenance worker who is wearing a chest cam. Little did he expect to find a humanoid down there with him. The video begins with the cameraman seemingly frozen in place. The camera is very still, as if the maintenance worker is too afraid to move. Maybe he heard a noise and is waiting for a creature to reveal itself.
Well, it did.
Suddenly, a pair of floating eyes peer at him from the distance.
Oh, no. Oh, wow, look at that. No, thank you. Oh, wee. Why would you walk towards
The eyes
it?
appear to belong to some sort of nocturnal predator. They reflect so much light that all you can see are 2 gigantic white dots that are roughly as wide around as flashlights. The humanoid does not appear to have much experience with humans and seems apprehensive as it peers around the corner. It decides to run away and the cheap camera cuts out before we can see any more of the chase. The creature seems incredibly fast and probably got away, but exactly what happened next is anyone's guess. The video footage survived, so the cameraman probably did as well. Then again, maybe they recovered it from his dead body instead. There's just not enough information out there to say for sure. Number 4, backyard
just
creatures.
overreact a bit.
2 friends are feeding their pet rabbits in the living room when they suddenly hear a mysterious noise coming from outside. Both of them are feeling pretty brave as they creep up the window and continue recording. As tough as they might be, neither of them are prepared for what they see next.
There's something like
crouching down there.
Yeah, could you get the light?
Is it there in the bottom right? Oh no.
Yeah. What? Yeah, there's
Oh!
back there.
Outside, some sort of orange 4-legged humanoid is facing away from them. It's very low to the ground. Look directly under the clothesline if you can't see it. It's a strange glowing color that doesn't seem to belong in this world. Play the tape again in slow motion and you can clearly see the humanoid sprint away as soon as one of them knocks on the window to get its attention. It's clearly startled as it retreats
I don't
over
know
a
what
fence
that
with a
is.
speed too fast for its bulky body. The 2 of them rush out in the backyard for a fight, but they find that the creature is already gone.
speed
They check
too
a
fast
nearby
for its
alley and
bulky
quickly give
body.
up. Nobody was hurt. As for what the humanoid was doing, perhaps it smelled the scent of 2 rabbits and went in search of a fresh meal. Number 3, hiding humanoids. This footage comes to us from Holland. A group of friends are exploring a park and decide to visit some watchtowers from World War II. The towers are closed for vandalism and it looks like their trip is over. Little did they know they were about to see something much more interesting than a cluster of abandoned towers could ever be.
Oh, something's poking out from the tree.
A large black figure is observing their movements from somewhere in the distance. It looks like it is trying to hide behind a tree, which shows that it has some level of intelligence, but it does a poor job and gets spotted immediately. They began shouting for the humanoid to come out.
You stupid
Suddenly, a
humanoid,
series of
we can
banging
see you.
noises fills the forest and sends them running. When one of them enhances the camera footage,
wow.
this is what they find glaring at them.
What?
Then again, I guess it's hard to glare at someone when you have no face. Whatever this humanoid was doing, it looked like it was up to trouble. The group might have been easily attacked if they didn't try to scare it off. Number 2, almost human. A paleoanthropologist and his team discovered a cave boneyard in 2015 that has since made the scientific community question just what it means to be human. These findings, which were uncovered on the African island of Palau, tell of a tiny humanoid race that lived millions of years ago. A team of small women explorers were chosen to traverse the tiny caverns because they were the only ones who could fit through the narrow entranceway and navigate the winding cave paths. At the end of a twisted rock journey, they found themselves standing at the mouth of a crypt with some of the earliest humanoid creatures ever recorded. As mineral-rich cave water hardened into stone, it preserved pieces of the humanoid's history. The team chipped away at the stone and found ancient teeth, bones, and pieces of cranium. When they pieced the creation together, the results were chilling. These tiny humanoid creatures had large teeth, narrow chins, and a brain that was roughly the size of a gorilla gorillas. They scurried about in caves and buried their dead. Humans were thought to be the only creatures to have buried their dead, but this crypt shows that at least one kind of humanoid species had been doing it for about 2.5 million years longer than we have been.
Researchers, including Dean Falk from the University of Florida, say it is so unique, it should be a separate species of human. The controversy of the Hobbit is ongoing.
The extent of this animal's intelligence is impossible to determine, but if they were smart enough to bury their own dead, then they were more advanced than us by more than 1 million years. What happened since then is anyone's guess, but extinction isn't the only possibility. They could have burrowed deeper into the earth. Number one, the abandoned shack. Whoever shot this footage claims to have been filming back in 2008. They were exploring an abandoned house and decided to start filming after hearing a strange noise. It's a very short clip since it wasn't long before they were running out of the house screaming. Reviewing the footage again, you can clearly see that this is not an ordinary forest creature. Its front legs bend inwards as it runs, kind of like a human running on all fours. It doesn't appear to have much of a face, yet it can somehow make a terrifying scream. The humanoid appears to be ready for the cameraman as soon as he opens the door. It approaches aggressively, but also with a hint of caution, for it rushes at the cameraman at only half speed. It also doesn't seem to pursue him when he starts running, which means it's probably just claiming its territory and wants to be left alone. The YouTuber who uploaded this video says that this is not their only encounter with the creature. Another time they were exploring the abandoned house with a friend and a knife. They peer into the house from the front yard and listen for any signs of the creature inside. They don't hear anything, so they decide to go further in to investigate. That's when they hear its disturbing warning cries.
It sounds like a person. Or a pig. Okay, that sounds a bit creepy.
It sounds like a mix between a squealing pig and some sort of enraged dinosaur. The two quickly turn off their flashlights and remain quiet in the dark. Then they slowly get up and start sneaking away, but just when they think they are safe.
The heck is that? Shoot! Shoot! Just get out of the house! Get out of the house!
Yeah.
Let's get back to the house.
That just looks like one of his friends.
They run back full speed to their nearby home. When they review the footage, they vow to go back to the property the next day with guns, but they never got the courage to follow through. Since the monster never chased them in either video, perhaps it was just as uncertain of them as they were of it.
Alright. Fucking hell. Some people, honestly. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!